By the end of this video, you will learn all the steps on how to draw Koala Man. Though, I'm not sure what he's doing right now, but he reminds me about the time an actual koala had me full-out paranoid. I've never questioned my sanity like that before. Let me tell that story. But first, grab a pen, listen, and let's draw together. So, I had always dreamed of visiting Australia. The beautiful beaches, the unique wildlife, and the laid-back culture all called to me. So when I finally saved up enough money for a 2-week trip, I jumped at the chance to book a flight. My first few days in Australia were everything I had imagined and more. I visited the Great Barrier Reef, where I swam among colorful fish and coral. I hiked through the Daintree rainforest, marveling at the diverse plant and animal life. And I spent an afternoon at a wildlife sanctuary, where I got to see koalas up close for the first time. But as the days passed, I started to notice something strange. Everywhere I went, I kept seeing the same koala. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, but the more I saw the animal, the more convinced I became that it was following me. I tried to brush it off as paranoia, but the koala kept appearing in the most unexpected places. It was there when I visited a winery in the Hunter Valley, and it was there when I took a hot air balloon ride over the outback. I even saw it on the beach as I watched the sunset. This reminds me, I've got to tell you later about my other Australian story about the really stupid reason I was attacked by a kangaroo. This country has issues. Anyway, back to the koala story. So I started to feel like I was being watched, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I couldn't understand why a wild animal would follow me around. I started to question my own sanity. It wasn't until the final day of my trip that the truth was revealed. I had decided to take one last visit to the wildlife sanctuary, where I had first seen the koala. As I was walking through the eucalyptus grove, I saw it again. But this time it didn't run away. Instead, it climbed down from the tree and approached me. And that's when I realized the truth. The koala wasn't a wild animal at all. It was a robot created by the sanctuary to interact with visitors and educate them about koala conservation. I was shocked and confused, feeling like I had been played a trick. But as I walked away from the sanctuary, I realized that the robot koala had done its job. It had made me think about the importance of wildlife conservation and had sparked my interest in the animal. And even though the experience was not what I had expected, it had added an unexpected twist to my vacation and made it all the more memorable. As I boarded my flight home, I couldn't help but smile. My trip to Australia had not been what I had imagined, but it had been something even more valuable. I had learned that sometimes the unexpected can be the most rewarding, and that the beauty of the world can come in many forms. And I knew that I would always carry a piece of Australia with me, in the form of the robotic koala that had changed my outlook on life. Next, I have to tell you the story about the stupid reason I was attacked by a kangaroo. But first, let's check in with the drawing. By this point, we should be getting close to finishing the line art. We've done the eyes, the head, and the upper body, and just have the lower body and some details left. So let's do a curved line here for the sock line, then the shape of his shoe, the outsole, and that is the lower body done. Finally, we do the details. We can't forget his cape, his shoelaces, some details on his shoes, and we can't forget his hairs on his legs. And that is the details done. And also, all of the line art. Next, we can do some coloring by adding some flat colors. Let's start with the black part inside of his mouth. Then we can grab the light gray marker and do the light gray of the koala mask, making sure to cover everything, from the ears, around the eyes, then we can do the belt buckle that is in the same color. Next, let's pick the light green marker and start filling in his t-shirt, around the entire part, above the belt, Next, we'll continue with the coloring, grabbing different markers for each part, doing his shorts, skin, cape, shoes, and so on. Then when all the coloring is done, we'll grab the iPad and do some shading to give the drawing some depth. Then finally, we'll add some highlights to give it that final pop. But while we do that, I have another story to tell. So let me tell you the story about the stupid reason I was attacked by a kangaroo. Years later, I'm back in Australia, and this time I was there with a friend. We decided to go on a road trip through the countryside. We rented a car and set off on our adventure. The first few days were great. We saw all the usual touristy things like the Sydney Opera House, the Great Barrier Reef, and we even got to hold a baby kangaroo at a wildlife sanctuary. But it wasn't until we started driving inland that things got really interesting. We were on a deserted road just admiring the scenery when we saw a kangaroo in the distance. We thought it was pretty cool and pulled over to take a picture. But as we got closer, we realized that this was no ordinary kangaroo. It was huge, like the size of a small horse. We were both a little freaked out, but also kind of excited. A quick side note, I would like to give a quick reminder that you should consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. I'm halfway to reaching my goal of 300 subscribers. Also, I would like to take this moment to thank my latest subscribers. Gracias, as they say in Spain. Anyway, back to the kangaroo story. We followed the kangaroo from afar for a while, taking pictures and videos when all of a sudden it stopped and turned around and looked straight at us. And then it started charging towards us. We panicked and jumped back in the car, but the kangaroo didn't stop. We were both screaming, not sure what to do. But we managed to drive away. We were both shaken, but also laughing at how crazy it all was. We couldn't believe we had just been chased by a giant kangaroo. We decided to stop at a gas station to get our bearings and tell someone what had just happened. But no one believed us. They thought we were just trying to make a joke. We even showed them the pictures and videos, but they still didn't believe us. We continued on our road trip, but we couldn't shake the feeling that we were being followed. Every time we saw a kangaroo, we tensed up, expecting it to charge at us. We started to see giant kangaroos everywhere, in our rearview mirror, in the bushes beside the road. It was like they were following us. We were both getting paranoid and didn't sleep well for the rest of the trip. We finally decided to ask for help and went to the local authorities. They didn't believe us at first, but when we showed them the pictures and videos, they finally took us seriously. Turns out it was all a prank, set up by some local teenagers who thought it would be funny to dress up in kangaroo suits and chase tourists. They were sorry for scaring us, but we couldn't help but feel a bit embarrassed. It was definitely an experience we would never forget, and it also taught us a valuable lesson: always be prepared to expect the unexpected and not to take everything at face value. Back to the drawing, and there we go. Our drawing is done. Our favorite average superhero, Koala Man. I almost called him Kangaroo Man. Join me in this next video where you will learn all the steps on how to draw Bitsy from Super Kitties. So don't put down your pen yet, keep listening, and let's continue drawing together.